It was the last week of school, and the gym buzzed with the kind of excitement only high school seniors understand, the kind that comes with the end of an era. The walls were covered in colorful banners, echoing memories of pep rallies and basketball games. Laughter filled the air, some of it real, some of it masking nerves. Prom had just passed, and for most of the students at Jefferson High, life was moving forward like nothing had changed. But for Maya, things had taken a very different turn. Maya wasn't the kind of girl people really noticed, not because she wasn't smart or kind, but because she kept to herself. Quiet, bookish, and painfully shy, Maya moved through the halls. Like a whisper. Her world was small. A few close friends, a love for martial arts her classmates didn't know about, and a quiet seat in the back row of every class. She liked it that way. She never tried to be part of the crowd, and the crowd never invited her in. But sometimes, even people who prefer to be invisible get seen, and not always in the way they want. It all started when she did something a little out of character. She said yes to a dare from her best friend. Ask someone to prom, her friend had whispered, half joking, as they watched the popular kids pose for photos in the hallway. Just try. Worst case, they say no. Maya had hesitated. But maybe it was the music playing softly over the loudspeakers, or the way the spring sunshine filtered through the gym windows. Something about that day made her feel brave. So she'd done it. She walked up to one of the basketball team stars, the kind of guy everyone knew and cheered for, and asked him, quietly, if he'd like to go to prom with her. He laughed, not the nervous kind of laugh, or even the surprised kind. It was loud, sharp, and cruel, the kind that drew attention. People turned. Phones came out. Before she could even react, his friends had joined in, jeering and egging him on. The rejection wasn't just a no. It became a joke, a meme, something shared in group chats with captions that burned. And just like that, Maya became a target. The bullying started small. Snide comments in the halls, locker notes, whispers. But it escalated quickly. By the time the gym class that would change everything rolled around, Maya was already carrying the weight of humiliation on her shoulders. But what happened that day shocked everyone, not just because of what they did to her, but because of how she responded. It was supposed to be a normal PA session. The class had been told they'd be doing light exercises before watching a prom-themed slideshow. Maya was already trying to keep her head down, hoping to make it through the hour unnoticed. But the girls who had taken a special interest in tormenting her had other plans. One of them bumped into her, hard. Another muttered something just loud enough for others to hear. And then it happened. A sudden tug at her shirt, laughter, a ripping sound that cut through the air like a knife. Maya stood frozen, humiliated, surrounded by mocking faces. But what happened next wasn't what anyone expected. In a moment that no one saw coming, Maya moved. It was fast, graceful, like something out of a movie. Her body twisted, her foot lifted off the ground in one fluid motion. And in front of half the senior class, she delivered a roundhouse kick that stopped the room cold. Not out of violence, but out of control, power, and something even more. Shocking confidence. The gym, which had moments before been filled with laughter, went silent. Maya stood tall, breathing hard, no longer the quiet girl people thought they could push around. That single kick, that one decision to stand up for herself, changed everything. But before anyone could process what they'd just seen, the story takes a surprising turn, not with Maya, but with someone watching silently from the bleachers. Jalen had seen it all. A quiet senior with his own set of stories, Jalen had been sitting off to the side, waiting for the class to end. He wasn't popular, but people respected him. Not because he tried to be cool, but because he was kind. And that kindness would be put to the test just a few days later. In the most unexpected place, on a city bus dot, it was a gray, rainy morning when it happened. Jalen, on his way to his weekend job, took a seat near the front of the bus, earbuds in, hood up. The bus was crowded, tired faces everywhere, the kind of silence that follows early mornings. When the bus stopped near the clinic, a visibly pregnant woman stepped on, clearly struggling with the weight of her bags and the curve of her belly. People glanced up and looked back down at their phones. No one moved until Jalen stood. He quietly offered her his seat, helping with her bag before stepping back and gripping the overhead rail. The woman smiled at him, clearly grateful, but said nothing at first. She sat down carefully, pulled out a small notepad from her purse, and began to write something. When she got up to leave a few stops later, she slipped the note into Jalen's hand. At first, he thought it was just a thank you. But when he opened it, what he read stopped him cold. The note held words that would not only reveal a truth he never expected, but it would change the direction of his life forever. And that ... is where this story begins. Jalen stared at the note in his hand for a few seconds before he even opened it. The woman was already gone by then, stepping off the bus into the drizzle without looking back. He almost didn't read it right away, figured it was probably just a polite thank you or a few kind words scribbled quickly. But something about the way she had handed it to him, quiet but purposeful, made him curious. He turned the paper over and unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, and the words made him stop breathing for a second. You have no idea how much this small act means. I've been looking for you. I know about your father. Please call me. Below the message was a phone number and a name, Claire Henderson. Jalen blinked. He read it again. The name meant nothing to him. And what did she mean she'd been looking for? Him. How would this woman, someone he had never seen before, know anything about his father? His dad had passed when he was 10. He didn't talk about it much, just the occasional mention when people asked, or when his mom brought up old stories. His dad had been in the military. That's all Jalen really knew. Most of his life, it had been just him and his mom, trying to make ends meet. The note felt too personal to be a coincidence. It felt strange. He kept it tucked deep in his hoodie pocket for the rest of the day, his fingers brushing against the folded edge every so often. He thought about showing it to someone, his mom, maybe. But the words haunted him, especially that part. I've been looking for you. Back at school on Monday, everything was different. The story of Maya's roundhouse kick had exploded across campus. Someone had caught the whole thing on video and posted it online. It went viral, at least in their little corner of the internet. Shy girl kicks back was the headline people were throwing around. There were memes, slow-motion replays, even TikTok reactions. Some students were praising her. Others still laughed, calling it a freak moment. But nobody could ignore her anymore. Maya, for her part, didn't say much. She still kept to herself, still sat in the back of class, but there was something different about the way she walked through the halls now. A calm, a steadiness. It wasn't confidence exactly, more like quiet strength. Like she'd seen the worst of it and had come out the other side knowing she didn't have to shrink herself any more. But with that attention came more whispers. The girls who had been part of humiliating her weren't laughing anymore, but they also weren't done. They'd been pulled into the counselor's office after the incident in the gym, and word had it there were suspensions coming. Still, Maya didn't seem interested in revenge or drama. She just wanted peace. But peace was never easy when people felt exposed. And some of those girls were starting to look for someone else to blame. Jalen noticed it too. He and Maya weren't friends exactly. They moved in different circles. But after what he'd seen in the gym, He felt a kind of respect for her. They started nodding at each other in the hallway. Quiet mutual understanding. Like they were, both carrying stories that no one else could really see. That note still weighed heavy on his mind. He thought about throwing it away, but every time he reached for it, something held him back. He finally looked up the name online. Claire Henderson. There were a few results, some old Facebook profiles, a LinkedIn page, a few photos. One of the images caught his eye. A woman with kind eyes and long brown hair standing next to a man in military uniform. The caption read, "In loving memory, Captain James Parker." Jalen's chest tightened. That was his dad's name. He stared at the photo. The woman looked nothing like his mother, but her face felt oddly familiar, like a shadow from a dream he couldn't quite place. He zoomed in on the man's uniform. There was no doubt. Same medals. Same name. How did she know his father? He thought about asking his mom, but decided to wait. If there was something she hadn't told him all these years, he needed to be sure it was worth bringing up. So instead, that night, he dialed the number. On the note, his heart pounded as it rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a voice picked up, soft, careful. "Hello?" He hesitated. "Hi, I got your note. On the bus, you said. You've been looking for me?" There was a pause. Then the woman's voice grew steadier. "Jalen?" "Yeah." Another pause. A breath. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. I didn't know when I'd see you again, or even how to approach you. But I think I owe you some answers. And I think you deserve to know the truth about your father." Jalen sat down slowly on the edge of his bed. "What truth?" "I can't say everything over the phone," she said gently. "But I knew your father before he met your mother. We served together overseas, and there's something important he left behind. Something meant for you." Jalen's mouth went dry. "Like what?" She hesitated again, then said quietly, "Let's just say, it's not just a memory. It's something that could change your future." Jalen didn't know what to say. His whole life, his father had been a quiet presence in old photos, folded flags, a few medals in a dusty drawer. His mom talked about him like a ghost, someone to be proud of, but never fully understood. And now here was a stranger saying there was more, that his father left behind something more than stories. Something real. "I can meet you, Claire." Added, "Somewhere public. I just want to talk." Jalen felt like he was standing at the edge of something huge. He didn't know if it was a trap, or some scam, or a genuine piece of his past finally coming to light. But part of him, the part that had always wondered who his father really was, needed to know. "Okay," he said quietly. "Let's meet." Meanwhile, back at school, the tension around Maya wasn't dying down. A rumor was spreading that one, of the girls she'd stood up to, was planning something nothing violent, just sneaky, a revenge prank. Maya tried to ignore it, but she could feel the eyes on her. The same hallway that had once ignored her was now full of sideways glances and hushed conversations. But Maya wasn't the same girl who had asked for a prom date on a dare. And she wasn't going to let fear define her again. Still, something was coming. Something that would bring Maya and Jalen's worlds crashing together in a way no one saw coming. Because the secrets Claire carried weren't just about the past. They were about everything that lay ahead. Jalen didn't sleep much that night. Every time he closed his eyes, that note replayed in his mind. The words stuck like glue. "I know about your father." He stared at the ceiling, trying to piece things together. Why now? Why not years ago? Why would someone who knew his dad wait this long to come forward? He kept wondering what Claire meant by something he left behind. Part of him wanted to believe it was something good, a letter, a keepsake, something that proved his father had thought about the future, about him. But another part of him was cautious. Life had taught Jalen not to expect easy answers. He didn't tell his mom about the call. Not yet. She worked 2 jobs and carried too many worries already. He figured if it turned out to be nothing, there was no need to add to her stress. But deep down, he felt the weight of a truth hiding in the shadows. Something wasn't right, and he had to know what it was at school. Things weren't any quieter. Maya was trying to stay under the radar again, but after what happened in the gym, invisibility was no longer an option. Everyone had seen what she did. Most people were whispering behind her back, trying to guess where she learned to fight like that. Some said she took secret karate classes. Others were sure she had a black belt. The truth was simpler. Her dad had taught her basic self-defense when she was little. After he passed, she kept practicing. It gave her focus, discipline, a way to let go of all the emotions she couldn't put into words. It wasn't about fighting. It was about surviving. But not everyone saw it that way. Lena, the girl who had started the bullying, was furious. After the gym incident, her social media took a hit. People started unfollowing her. Her DMs were filled with messages calling her a bully. For someone used to being the center of attention, the sudden shift was humiliating. She blamed Maya, even though the truth was, she had brought it on herself. But in her mind, Maya had embarrassed her, and now she wanted to get even. The rumors of a prank grew louder. A fake apology plan. A setup involving Maya's locker and a camera. Maya heard bits and pieces, but didn't react. She knew better than to respond to every threat. But inside, the anxiety was building. She'd thought standing up for herself would bring peace. Instead, it made her a target in a different way. Jalen saw it happening. He'd always watched people quietly, picking up on things others missed. That day in the cafeteria, he noticed Maya sitting alone, her shoulders tense, eyes scanning the room like she was waiting for something to happen. He hesitated, then walked over and sat down across from her. She looked up, surprised. "You don't have to say anything," he said, keeping his voice low. "Just, you don't have to be alone either." Maya blinked, then gave a small nod. She didn't say much, but his presence felt like a shield. For a few minutes, the weight eased. Started sitting together after that. Not every day, not always in silence, but enough to matter. They didn't talk about what happened in the gym or on the bus. They talked about small things, movies, teachers they liked, music. But beneath all of it, there was a current of understanding too. People carrying stories they weren't ready to tell, finding comfort in someone who didn't demand explanations. Outside of school, Jalen finally agreed to meet Claire. They met at a quiet coffee shop near downtown. Claire was already there. When he arrived, sitting near the window, her fingers wrapped around a paper cup. She looked up when he walked in, her expression softening. "Jalen," she said gently, "thank you for coming." He sat down slowly, still not sure what to expect. "I need to know what this is about." "Why now?" Claire nodded. "I understand. I wish I'd found you sooner, but I didn't know where to start. I wasn't sure how much your mom had told you. She told me he died when I was 10, in service." "She's right," Claire said. "But there's more to it." Jalen leaned in, listening. "Your father and I served in the same unit." She continued, "We were close. Before he met your mom, he helped me through a rough time. After he passed, I got access to some of his personal belongings that had been locked away. I found a journal. In it, he wrote about you. How he wished he'd been around more. How he wanted to make sure you had everything you needed." Jalen's eyes stayed on hers. "And?" Claire hesitated. "And he left something for you. Something that wasn't included in the official records. I don't think your mom ever knew about it. It was a private account. Money But more than that, it was a letter. To you. Jalen froze. A letter? She nodded. He wrote it in case something happened to him. It's not long, but it's real. I've kept it all these years. Jalen didn't know what to say. A part of him didn't trust it. But another, part the boy who used to stare at his dad's medals and wonder what kind of man he was, desperately wanted to believe it was true. I want to give it to you, Claire said softly. But I also want to help. Your father helped me when I had no one. I owe it to him and to you. Jalen didn't respond right away. He was still processing, but something inside him shifted. If this was real, then his father had never truly left him. While Jalen wrestled with the truth of his past, Maya faced another turning point. After school one day, she found a note inside her locker, no name, just a message. Watch your back. You're not special. Her hands trembled slightly as she read it. She wasn't scared, not in a way she used to be. But she was tired. Tired of the games, the whispers, the constant feeling that someone was waiting to see her fall. That night, she didn't cry. She trained Dot. She set up a makeshift space in her small room, mats on the floor, a punching bag her uncle had given her years ago. Her body moved through each routine, focused and precise. Each kick, each strike, cleared her mind. She wasn't fighting them. She was reminding herself that she had control over her own story. And across town, Jalen opened an envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, aged but clean. In his father's handwriting were the words he had never heard aloud. Dear Jalen, if you're reading this, I'm not there anymore. But I need you to know something. I see you. I believe in you. And no matter what happens, you're never alone. The world isn't always fair, but you were made to rise above it. Keep your head up, son. You are more than you know. Jalen held the letter in his hands, his heart pounding. He felt the ground shift under him. His father wasn't just a memory anymore. He was a voice, a presence. But with that gift came a choice. Because the money Claire mentioned, it wasn't simple. It came with conditions, ones that would force Jalen to decide who he wanted to be. And not everyone wanted him to have it. The past had returned, but the future was still uncertain. And somewhere in the silence between them, Maya and Jalen were being pulled toward something bigger than either of them could see.